Let's learn how to work with the list box in Netbeans GUI. I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to call it ListBox. Make sure my create main class is unchecked. Click finish. And I'm going to go over to my packages, right mouse click on that package and choose a new JFrame form. I'll call it FRM main. Click finish. Set my layout for my JFrame to be absolute. Drop a panel on there. I just do this because I like the look of the panel and how it makes the JFrame work. Right mouse click on my JPanel and change the layout to be absolute. And now we want to go ahead and work with a list box. So I'm going to drag my list box over to the form. I'm going to just make it wider. Notice that on this list box, this is very similar to a combo box, where it will actually have more than one item inside of that list box. Make sure your list box is selected and come over to the properties. That same attribute with the combo box called model works with the list box. The model says it's the one that's representative of the data inside of it. I could come over here and type in some acronyms. We'll type in CO, we'll type MO, NM, TX, UT, WY, click OK, and that automatically changes the items in the list box. As I resize the list box, if the box is smaller than the elements, the scroll bar automatically shows up. I could go ahead and run that, and we'll have to choose who the main class is. We'll just click OK. And here are the items associated with our list box. I can select each item, and it's all done without us writing any source code. So let's go ahead and learn how to work with that list box and how to pull data out of it. I'm going to go ahead and drop a label on the form. I'm just going to use this for output to show that I can pull the data out. Right mouse click on that label. We'll change the variable name to be LBL output. And I'm going to drop a button on there that when they click on this button, I'm going to grab whoever is selected here and display their contents in that label. So I'm going to right mouse click on the button and I'm going to change the name to be BTN select. And I'll change right mouse click and change the edit text to be select item. Let's go ahead and access the event handler for the button. Right mouse click on the button and I'm going to work with the mouse clicked. And now we can write the source code necessary to work with the. However, one of the first things I should have done, I'm going to go back to the designer, is actually give my list box a name. I'm going to select that list box, right mouse click, and change the variable name. I'm going to call it LST for list states. Click OK. And then let's go back to our source code and find that event handler for the mouse button clicked. And now let's write the code. So let's write the code associated with this button. Sorry, I just clicked on something and expanded all the source code. So right there, here is our event handler for the BTN select button and the mouse clicked. We want to say the LBL output label. Remember, we were just using that component to show what was selected. Set text. And we want to pull the data out of that list box. LST states was the name of the list box, and we can use the get selected value method that returns it as an object. So we now have to do a dot to string to convert it to a string. Now let me go ahead and run that, and let's see what happens. I'll drop it down here. First of all, notice that there are no items selected right now. I'm going to go ahead and click on the button. Notice that it generates an error. It says null pointer. That's because in the code we said, go and grab the selected value from the list box, where there is no selected value. And that's why it's giving you an error. If I chose MO and I chose select item, notice that it does actually grab a value because it has one. So you have to be aware that sometimes you have to write code to protect your components from causing errors. Here's how you could do that. You could say if LST states dot get selected index is greater than equal 0. Then we want to go ahead and assign the text. Now if I say greater than or equal to 0, Let's see what will happen with that, because we know that on the other components we use, everything is zero based, meaning zero means it's the first item selected. Let's choose the first one. So that right there says it looks like it's working. So just be aware that sometimes you have to write code to protect your program from maybe the user making a mistake. You expect them to choose a value, but maybe they don't. And one way you could do that in the list box is by saying the list box get selected index is greater than or equal to 0, meaning they have selected either the first item or another item in that list. One of the last things I want to show you on using the list box is how to actually start with one of the items already selected. Now what I've done is that I went ahead and I came over here to the properties window, and there's an item that you can work with in the properties window called selected index. It used to be -1. If I put it back to -1 and I actually saved that, and if I ran it, you'd see that this wasn't selected. So this item right here can actually control which item you want to work with as a default being selected. For instance, 1 says Montana, 2 says New Mexico. Now remember, if I say 2, that really means the third item in the list. So this is just a way that you could start with an item in a list box already selected. Notice that New Mexico is already selected. Probably one of the most important things you can do in programming, working in object-oriented programming, is going out and learning all the different attributes that you have. The selected value attribute for a list box tells you what is the data that you're working with. Notice that's what we did right here. We said selected value and we said toString. And that's how you work with the list box.